Please welcome to the stage Roberto Macedonio of NTN24 and our esteemed panel.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, we're in New York. We're actually in the heart of New York. We're in Times Square, which is a global hub where ideas and economies comes alive. And that's what we're gonna speak with our great panelists. We're diving into a conversation about Latin America and the future of Latin America. And we want to focus on this region that is glowing with potential, but also facing big challenges like political shifts or the need for sustainable growth. How can we unlock new paths for prosperity, innovation, and new opportunities? This is the question we're going to try to answer today in this panel. And it's an honor to me as NTN24 correspondent, the largest news channel in Spanish for Latin America and USA, host this event. And it's an honor to introduce you our great panelist, Andrés Cadena, senior partner of McKinsey & Company. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor also to have here María Luisa Hayem, Minister of Economy of Republic of El Salvador. Welcome. And also Sebastián Mejía, Executive General Manager for North America of Juan Valdez. What a great coffee. Welcome. And also Gianpiero Leoncini, who is the Executive Vice President of CAF, Development Bank for Latin America and the Caribbean. Welcome. So we're going to start with Andrés Cadena. And I want to start with innovation. Why it's important innovation for Latin America, and how can the region accelerate this innovation?
Well, thank you very much. We have at McKinsey a way to solve problems, and we will go into situation, complication, and resolution. So I'm going to try to answer on those three ways. On the situation of innovation, the main reason why it's so important in LATAM is that we have been growing at barely less than 3%, between 2.5 and 3%, which is half of what we need to get developed. So there's a breach of growth. That breach of growth has to be closed, and the issue is not that we're growing at half the speed. It is that three quarters of that growth are basically labor, more hours, and only one quarter is innovation, which is basically labor productivity. And that has been a big issue in the region because it is basically like working with your hands and not working with your brain. That is the situation. The complication is that those 3 quarters of growth that come from labor, because of the change on the global trend and the Latin American trend of birth rates, is going to be depleted in the next years. So the rate of around 2.5 to 3% growth is going to decline in Latin America to around 1.5%. And that is if we continue doing the innovation we have today. That's just because, just to give you an idea, when I came back to Colombia in 1997, there was 13 people working per one person getting out of the system. In less than 15 years, it's going to be only 3 people working. So we're going to have to maintain a lot of people that is elder with very few people working. What is the main issue? That we have to grow productivity 2 to 4 times in order to get the same rate of growth that we have today, not even to go to the level we need. That is the complication. Mm-hmm. What is the only solution? And this, I'm saying the only one. The only one is to get productivity up. And the only way to get it is through innovation, which is basically investment. So we have to grow the investment rate of LATAM exponentially, like 4 times. That means for the next 10 years, we're going to have to invest 1 GDP in addition of what we invest. That's $6.5 trillion in additional investment. And that is the only answer that we have up to today. There's no way to get out of this trap if it's not growing faster, and it's not innovating faster, and it's not getting the investment that we need. So I stop there for now.
Yes, because of definitely innovation is one of the keys for prosperity. So I want to ask from a policy point of view, the Minister of El Salvador, your government is doing a huge transformation in your country, in your republic. So how can governments support the private activity and the innovation, as Andres was saying?
Great. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and share the experience of a country that has transformed, basically completely transformed, and is in the process of keep transforming, of course, in the coming years. Just to set the scene on El Salvador and what we have done in order to achieve that economic stability and economic growth, I think it's important to share that 6 years ago, El Salvador was seen as a country where no innovation was happening. We had economic stagnation. And in the past 4 years, the story has completely changed. We have now grown in average more than what we grew in 30 decades. Last year, for instance, 14 of 19 sectors of our economy grew. We had more than 5,300 new companies establishing in El Salvador, local and also some of them international. So this is what we're seeing in the tourism sector, for instance. Our tourism sector, El Salvador, actually had the second position in tourism increase in the world. Last year, we have seen a construction sector this year growing 17% in the first quarter. We talk to companies and they say we have seen an increase of 200% of our exports. So this is the kind of things that we're seeing. If we're seeing the inauguration of a new plant, the establishment of a new company, the development of a new product, and all of this thanks to a holistic approach that we have been working on since the beginning of first President Bukele's administration back in 2019. Basically, if I would have to say, and recommend what to do, it's very important. The government, of course, work very hard, and don't think that because you're the government you have to do the things slow and be inefficient. But there has to be a very strong work on identifying what are the main constraints for economic development. It sounds super obvious maybe, but this is something that hasn't been done in the past. And in the case of El Salvador, having tackled the insecurity, having eliminated bureaucracy, both of these barriers were huge. El Salvador was never going to grow if we wouldn't given back the freedom to our population, and if companies would keep fighting against bureaucracy. So these two elements have completely changed the business environment, and now the private sector, the local private sector is the one, and local and international private sector that was already in El Salvador are the companies that have started to react. And now we're seeing more international investment, including on technology. And a third area that we have considered and worked very hard also is on legal framework. We couldn't keep working with a legal framework that was completely outdated, laws that were created maybe 100 years ago. And the fact that now El Salvador is one of the countries that has one of the most modern legal frameworks in technology, with a robotics law recently approved, an artificial intelligence law, also a tech law that provides incentives for companies to establish in El Salvador in the technology sectors. All of these are factors that help achieve the economic growth that we have achieved up until now, and set the basis for a solid economic growth in the future.
And as you said, it's very important to act fast, and your government have been very fast on this transformation. I want to ask also Sebastián from Juan Valdez, why it's important for companies to become international. You're in an international market with several points of different shops around Europe and Latin America, also USA. So how can to be international change the economy in a company as yours?
Thank you. The world is too big.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of coffee producers in the world, as Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, and Central America. So we think that we have the best product in the world, best quality coffee, and we support more than 500,000 coffee growers in Colombia with a high social impact. So 20 years ago, we opened some stores in Colombia. We have good success, and then we expand to more than 25 countries, and right now we're almost having like 700 stores around the world. So when we have 1,000 stores, we will be like the 10th biggest coffee chain in the world. So I think we have Juan Valdez for 20 or 30 more years with thousands of stores as Starbucks, McCafe, and all the biggest in the world.
Yes, you have a lot of competition. This is a hard market, and Juan Valdez is growing so fast here in the USA. So, Gianpiero, how is CAF working to mobilize capital to support sustainable growth?
Thank you. CAF, as Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, is currently reaching approvals over $16 billion for sustainable development in the region, and our portfolio is about to attain $40 billion. And for this, to arrive there, we have become the main issuer of bonds in international markets in Latin America. Actually, 75% of our funding comes from bond emissions. And if at the beginning in the 90s, well, it was key to obtain an investment grade, nowadays we are looking at ensuring the sustainability of our products, for example, with green bonds, with blue bonds. We issued our first blue bond this year in France. And the success has been quite amazing. For example, a couple of weeks ago, we issued in euros for $1.5 billion, and we received demand for 15 billion, so 10 times what the bond actually was. Another important source of mobilization of resources is partnerships. We, in particular, have access to the Green Climate Fund, the Adaptation Fund, the Global Environment Fund, as key financial partners to invest in sustainable projects in the region. And another element on the project preparation side is the possibility to be able to help our countries in preparing the projects, in doing the feasibility studies, in sharing knowledge. And for this, our grant facilities for project preparation are extremely important. So we are also investing heavily in this side. And of course, El Salvador is a wonderful partner, which we're doing a lot of work together in these years.
Yes, great partner.
Yes.
Say it, your country.
Very important, strategic partner, for sure.
Minister, I would like to ask you about security because of Salvador was one of the most unsafe countries in the world, and your government transformed it in one of the safest. So how does the security affect to economy and to the development of the companies in your country?
So I don't think it's very difficult to measure quantitative, but we are seeing a huge positive impact from having recovered the security and the freedom of our population. And what we're seeing right now, it's only the tip of the iceberg. Just to give you some examples of the cost, distribution companies would pay millions of dollars every year in order to be able to deliver their goods in towns inside of the country. And those, if you see the graphs, those went from millions of dollars to zero then the next day that, in the next days and weeks that the security got to a full achievement. That's only one example, but when we see a small and a micro entrepreneur that they didn't have the opportunity to sell the goods and implement the dream that they had in their communities. Now this is changing. When we see the productivity of our labor changes, when we see the value of land, we're talking about land that was worth nothing, and now we're having a big infrastructure project. There's only one company investing $1.5 billion in the coming years, and part of it is because they have recovered the land that was worth nothing. Our city center used to be one of the most dangerous places in the planet, I would say. And now, as it has been recovered, we see restaurants, we see hotels popping up. And talking to a company recently, it's a company that has branches in around in different countries, around 500 branches. And they share that December of last year, the branch in the city center in El Salvador was the branch that has sold the most in the planet. So this is the kind of transformation that I'm referring. So again, difficult to measure, but we know it's very big, and the impact in the future is going to be even bigger.
Even bigger, a huge transformation. Andres, will you say that security in Latin America, in the region, is one of the key points for the economical growth?
Absolutely. I mean, I was telling you that we need to invest around the GDP on the next 10 years. We have to do it for 3 decades in order to get developed if we are able to get that extra investment. That's a huge amount of money. I mean, I come from Colombia, and just to put a perspective on that, that means building a metro line for Bogota, 10 metro lines per year every year for the next 30 years in order to get developed. You can extrapolate, and then you understand what is the amount of money that we need. And why security is so important. Salvador has shown, and sorry for using you as an example, that you need 3 things. You need to have, first of all, confidence. I mean, a country without confidence doesn't go anywhere. The second thing is you need to have rule of law. So confidence becomes real. And you know that things are not going to change every time the government wants. The third one that you need is security. And it's security on the rule of law and security on personal security. But the final one is a joint work between the public sector and the private sector that has also been very important in the case of Salvador. In Latin, 80% of growth have come, or investment, have come from the private sector, and only 20% has come from the public sector. So if you don't have access to the private sector, you don't have a good relation between the public and the private sector, it's impossible to grow in Latin. It's absolutely impossible. You cannot extrapolate and see Latin growing without the support of the private sector and the support of the public sector. So security is a fundamental pillar, together with the rule of law, together with alliances between the public and the private sector, and everything creates the confidence that is what you need for investors to invest in your country.
Yeah, Gianpiero, we are talking about security, but what other key points will you say that are crucial to get more inversion in Latin America? Which other ones?
Well, I think that regional cooperation is key for favoring private sector investment, and like a bank like ours that is sort of a regional public good can help a lot to create these conditions. Certainly, investing in cross-border infrastructure is of key importance. Providing shared financial instruments like regional guarantee funds or blended finance platforms. We have to work in harmonizing regulatory frameworks and standards, in providing regional mechanisms for transparency and traceability, and definitely in collaborative platforms like this one in promoting public-private dialogue is also a key instance. And CAF is committed now to organizing a regional International Economic Forum in Panama each year. So we started this year in January, and we're going to do a big event of this type in January in Panama. Several presidents are going to come, and the whole private sector from the region is coming together. So these are key platforms to promote private investment.
And the cooperation, right, between the public and the private sector. Yeah.
Exactly.
I would like to ask Sebastián, how can you work from the local to the international? I mean, how Juan Valdez, an international company, works with local coffee producers in Colombia?
Yes, so we have the best quality of the world in Colombia. We have the raw material, we have the market, and we have the brand. So we have to adapt every different country We have to understand the culture. We have to understand what they drink, you have to adapt, and then how you create a successful model to expand and escalate. And for example, what people like in Dubai is different from Colombia, from Istanbul, and from Madrid and Miami. So we have to innovate, we have to understand culture, and more than selling coffee, we are selling and helping families, creating employees, creating dreams, creating associations, and some specific programs that are social programs that can sell different types of coffee to the world.
Mm-hmm. Because it's very important to work, Andres, with local producers for big companies and international ones to keep in touch with the local talent and take that to the rest of the world, right?
Absolutely. What is the question?
So how do you think that companies can look for the perfect way to do that? Because it's not easy to export, for example, local coffee from the fields of Colombia to the rest of the world, keeping the quality, for example.
Yeah, we have one of the things that we have to realize is that we are a rich continent. Mm-hmm. We have to start by thinking that way. We're not a poor continent.
Yeah.
Because you need the capital, you need the people, and you need the land. And we have the land. I mean, we have the materials, we have the oil, we have the gas, we have everything we need is being exported as raw material.
The best material, yes.
But it's exported as a raw material. And then we have the people. I mean, we have 600 million people in Latin America that is willing to work hard. We don't have enough capital, and that's what we have been discussing. So what companies could do to really go and grow faster and grow international? They have to invest in changing the model and having better access to capital and, of course, better access to human capital. And the countries have to develop better human capital. There's no other way that we can couple with the new technologies. I mean, we're going to have fusion energy. We're going to have singular AI. We're going to have biotechnologies that we don't even imagine, humanoids. We're going to have quantum computing. Everything is going to happen in the next 30 years. So we need to prepare people to be able to couple with that. Everybody should be, right now, studying AI and understanding how to play in the new world, just like it happened when the steam machine arrived 200 years ago. There's no way, and that's how each of the companies and the institutions have to be ready to apply the only way that we have to leapfrog where we are today.
Definitely, definitely. And well, exportation is very important for economies. Before I used to live in Madrid, in Spain, I have a lot of Colombian friends there, and all of them always say, one of the things that I miss the most of Colombia is the coffee. Mm-hmm. That's why this is very important to export local products to the other parts of the world. I would like to have your conclusions about the keys. We are focusing on the keys for economical growth in Latin America. We have talked about security, exportations, stability in the region. What other keys would you like to mention before to end this panel, Gianpiero?
Well, the region definitely has to focus on productivity, and for this we have to reduce informality. This has been a permanent challenge for the region, and to include more people in the formal market would be key to drive productivity.
Mm-hmm. Sebastián?
I think that sustainability has to be in the core of the business. Innovation, and for us, is not to sell raw material, it's to sell origin, to sell experiences, to adapt countries, and to sell the best coffee to the world, I think. So.
Best coffee to the world. Maria Luisa means...
Yes, I would say innovation has to be in the core of the government thinking. We cannot keep doing the same thing all over again that we have done 1,000 times before, or maybe more. So innovating, adopting technologies in order to increase access to basic goods as services like education, and health. Those are key in order to be able to accelerate economic growth.
Please, Andres.
In 15 years, the demographic bonus of LATAM is going to be depleted. That means that we have 15 years to change our economic model. So we better get rich before we get old.
Yes, please. I think we all are agree on that. Thank you so much. Thank you to our great panelists, and thanks to you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.